Fox News has its issues, but have you seen MSNBC? MSNBC actually pulling Joe and Mika off the air on Monday because probably the big bosses decided it's really not appropriate to have a couple of people that are so wedded to the idea of Joe Biden that they have continually, almost consecutively, every single day, every single hour, every single minute they're on television, attacked Donald Trump with whatever they could, saying some pretty heinous things in the process. Well, guess what? Brian Roberts got the memo to Caesar Conde, the guy who actually is the president of NBC News, and they pulled these two off the air. These two were not very happy. There's a full-on meltdown going on at NBC. CNN gladly reporting on it, checking out their note that they wrote last night. Let's read what CNN had to say. Meltdown at MSNBC. Staffers at MSNBC are not so happy with NBC News Group. That's according to reports out Wednesday from The Wrap and The Daily Beast, both of whom reported that in the wake of the inexplicable benching of Morning Joe, employees inside 30 Rock are vexed and alarmed by the decision made by Caesar Conde and his team. Quote, there's a level of disgust in the company I have never seen before. Oh, they're freaking out. They're freaking out. And let me just say, knowing how these things work, I think the two people in that picture right now, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you. Give us 5 stars and a great review. We love you for it. If you're watching on YouTube, reminder, thumbs up, share, like all that good stuff. But what's fascinating is the two people in the picture, I think, had a line in, shall we say, to Daily Beast and to The Wrap so that they could report some of this out. And then they lined up their little producers and they said, okay, now you say this and you say this and you say this. And they're trying to get a message to Caesar, but they're really trying to get a message to Brian Roberts, the CEO of Comcast, who, if you ask me, is a lot more down the middle than anybody who's on air there. But they have a problem. You see, they got a bunch of crazies on the air that they have afforded all of this oxygen to, and they have allowed them to say the most heinous things about the former president of the United States and the head of the GOP ticket. So now what are they going to do? They could pull them off the air. These two had an absolute fit. They said, next time that happens, we're not coming back. Woo! Watch.
To briefly talk to our friends and viewers that watch us every day. And talk about what happened yesterday. We were told in no uncertain terms on Sunday evening that there was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels yesterday. The Today Show would be Lester Holt, other people that you worked with on Sunday, and that was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels, that we were going to stay as a network in breaking news mode throughout all day yesterday. That did not happen. We don't know why that didn't happen. Our team was not given a good answer as to why that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. We were also told it was going to happen throughout the day. And I guess after there was such a strong blowback about yesterday morning, I guess they changed their plans. And so those plans changed as well. So it didn't. You know, we've talked about it off the air. We'll talk about it on the air because we talk about everything on the air. We were very surprised. We were very disappointed. And if we had known that there wasn't going to be the one news feed from NBC News across all NBC News channels, Willie, we obviously would have been in yesterday morning.
Yeah, I was here up early on Sunday morning with NBC's coverage. Savannah and I led the coverage on Sunday in the immediate aftermath, talking to eyewitnesses, talking to officials about what happened. Obviously suited up and ready to go for yesterday morning on a big morning, and we're told that something else was going to be broadcast. So we are here today going through a lot, catching up a little bit, but we want to be here for our audience, and we know you trust us, and we have ultimate respect for you guys. So we are here today. I wish we'd been here yesterday.
Yeah, we all wish we would have been here yesterday. We still would like to figure out exactly why there wasn't that one news feed.
And I think the reason why is this show began and continues 17 years later on being the place where you can go to have the hard conversations in a civil way. And so it seemed like now more than ever is a time that we would like to be on. And I think our viewers agree with that. So we continue.
Okay. Really? You think you're having sophisticated civil conversations in a really great way? I got news for you. when you put people on like this, and I'm about to show you a soundbite from somebody who's kind of going off the deep end here. Do we have the Michael Steele soundbite, Drew, where he's kind of threading together a conspiracy theory like no other? You know, this is coming straight from, I hate to say it, but Reid Hoffman over at LinkedIn has this advisor who put out a note to quote friendly journalists, except some unfriendly journalists somehow got their hand on this. And he was entertaining this wild conspiracy theory that I don't even like to give oxygen to. But the point is, MSNBC is about Putin and Trump somehow coming up with this. I mean, it's bonkers, okay? It's bonkers. But if you wonder why Brian Roberts and the head of NBC News made a decision to take Mika and Joe off the air on Monday morning because there was a belief they would be completely inappropriate and put inappropriate people on, it's because they were fearful of this. Watch.
In the Band-Aid. That's fine. Where I am at this point is it's been 3 days going on 4 since this horrific event occurred. A person lost their life, 2 have been severely injured, and yet we've not received a medical report from the hospital, nor have we received a medical report from the campaign or from the Trump organization about the extent of the damage to his ear. If he was shot by a high caliber bullet, there should probably be very little ear there. And so we'd like to know that. Is there cosmetic surgery involved? What is the prognosis for recovery? Were there stitches? What is the extent and nature of the damage to his ear? Was it caused by a bullet as opposed to, as some reports from those on the scene, other reporters, saying that it was actually shards of glass from the teleprompter itself, not the bullet? So there are a lot of questions around that ear, and yet there's been no response to that. Instead, just showing the image of the man coming into
right.
the hall with the wounded ear.
Let me jump
so
in
that's
on
the
that.
politics.
Let me jump in on that, and then we'll continue. We're looking at that photo. Michael Steele is correct. While there is a certain amount of time that could be understandable for any medical scenario, the calls around the current president's medical condition, the questions around his capacity, right, are also the same questions you have in a medical event like this. Certainly the public would want to know as much as possible about both incidents, and the Trump campaign has not been the most transparent. So I think getting medical records and briefing on that at some point would be appropriate. That's what journalists often ask for.
So you got to appreciate that they're asking those questions, but nobody's asking the question about what the heck was Kim Cheadle doing by, one, robbing RFK Jr. of the appropriate Secret Service that he needed in order to campaign. Think about that. And possibly not putting the proper resources into what Donald Trump needed in order to campaign. I mean, I'm sorry, Kim. You know what? I'm sorry, Joe. And I'm sorry, Dr. Jill, who picked Kim Cheadle, by the way, because they loved all this DEI stuff she was talking about, 30% women in the USS. Right? We're going to get all these women in Secret Service. Great. And maybe we can control Kim Cheadle enough so that she won't devote all the resources. We won't give her the resources to Trump's campaign. This is an important question to be asking. Forget about the ear for 2 seconds and your wild conspiracies over on MSNBC. Find out why the heck was no one doing their job.